Good afternoon on what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Wednesday the 14th of September. I've got a nice hot cup of tea and a game to unbox, which is Doctor Who. It is Doctor Who the role-playing game, 2nd edition, limited edition, collector's edition. I'll just show you on the back. Now this is published by Cubicle 7, and this is over 10 years old now, and it's the 4th Doctor Who role-playing game, and this is just the 2nd edition, and this was very well received, originally being based upon sort of like the Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant versions of Doctor Who. And as it's gone along, it's done source books sort of like devoted to all of the Doctors so far, except the 13th, Jodie Whittaker, analysing all of their adventures and providing source books on like the Silurians and the Paternoster group and Unit and so on. They're all really good. If you're into role-playing Doctor Who, then this is thoroughly recommended. But let's find out what this is like. Doctor Who the role-playing game, 2nd edition. You want the whole universe? Someone who's seen it all, and that's me. I've lived longer, seen more, loved more, and lost more. I can share it all with you. If you could travel across time and space and time, where would you go? With Doctor Who the role-playing game, you can find out. Travel to the most distant stars as they are born. Maybe back to the creation of the Stonehenge or the Great Pyramids. It may be dangerous, facing threats from Dalek Cybermen, or even worse. But it'll be worth it. What are you waiting for? Let's get a shift on. The award-winning Doctor Who the role-playing game has regenerated into a new 2nd edition that is faster, easier and even more exciting. The book presents all the rules and background you need to voyage across space and time with the Doctor, or as new characters experience brand new epic adventures. Doctor Who the role-playing game 2nd edition has been designed to appeal to both the experienced and first-time gamer. For 2 or more players aged 10 to 10,000, this special limited edition of the core rulebook celebrates the latest incarnation of the TARDIS, presented in a blue box that can take you across all of time and space. Now, I am a Doctor Who fan. I have been a Doctor Who fan ever since I can remember, and all the way back to John Pertwee. Yes, I'm that old, and even remember sort of like the very last story from Patrick Troughton, that Tom Baker was my Doctor, and I have enjoyed the Doctor Who stories since. So let's see what. So what have we got here? How does that? Oh, right. So that sort of like this actually comes off. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to store that afterwards. And what you've got is this handsome look book box set. All plain, simple, nice and solid. You've got a nice feel for the TARDIS there, and then it does this. It's a nice click there, the sound of that opening, and it opens up onto the vista of the 13th Doctor's, Jodie Whittaker's TARDIS. That's really nice. Nice collectible box set for your copy of the rules. See if I can get this to come out. There we go. So, and then we have, there's actually a ribbon there to help you get it out, which I didn't see. Silly me. And what we have is the depiction of the inside of the TARDIS, back and front. That's really nice. It's a really nice looking book, nice presentation, nice to have that that sense of immersion of actually going into the TARDIS from the outside. Presumably that's the cover to the standard edition. And then got a list of contents, and obviously from the front, from the off, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, 13th Doctor is front and centre. Here here's really where, but from the off you can see, let's get a shift on, it's beginning to sell the game. It's beginning to sell what the game is about and what you do. Then it explains what a role-playing game is and the characters you can play. Now this is a game in which you can play any of the doctors, you can play any of the companions. Typically you'll play them all, the doctors and the companions in the right combination. But here we have an explanation of essentially what the basics of the core game is, the role-playing game, and what that is. But of course the other option is you can play the characters. You can create your own Time Lord and then have your own adventures. Nice clean layout. Does have notes on how to use the book, how to involve measurements, language, page references, and so on. And then just a few pages in, we have an example of play. I'm a big fan of examples of play. I think it's sort of like not enough role-playing games have examples of play. This far in, if you are a Doctor Who fan and you've not role-played, you want to have some idea of how this game works. And this goes on, so it starts here, that's a couple of pages there. And that carries on. So that's 4 pages. So that's 4 pages long, that's fine, but it's enough. And then we're going to Travellers in the Fourth Dimension. Again, we've got a nice shot of the members of the companions for the Doctor. Playing a role, who you are, the Doctor's rules, the rules of the table, and so on. Are you a team, gang, or fam? I'm going with team or gang, to be fair. But the other thing is that what it does here, just flipping over a page. Okay, so far it's all been about Jodie Whittaker's Doctor and her companions, but here we have David Tennant, Bryce Tyler, and then we have Amy Pond. So they're not forgotten. And also, we get this other options here. So we have the Timeless Child, absolutely my candidate for the next Doctor, but she wasn't. But I would love to see her come back as the Doctor. She'd be brilliant. And also, she's got better dress sense than some Doctors I could name. But that's just me. And he also acknowledges the other options. So you can play a game involving unit or time agents and so on. So you've got different concepts discussed there as well. And then, example, it's beginning to look at the particular characters, giving examples, what their focus is, and it's drawing images, just from the previous, iterations. So obviously Donna and Tennant, and Baker and K9. Donna being a brilliant companion as far as I'm concerned, and she's one of the few companions I have actually role-played, and she's brilliant to role-play. She is such a fun character. And of course we've got the third Doctor early on. We've got Liz Shaw, Alistair Lethbridge Stewart, and of course, and John Pertwee's the third Doctor. Interestingly, you've got options here for shared background experience. Okay, so you can actually build sort of characters together, and then we get into actually begin to create the character. We've got shots there of Susan and Ian from the first Doctor's iteration. Again, I'm enjoying this. It's quite subtle. They're not, look, just the images here. They're showing the Doctor, in all his various incarnations and the various characters, and of course, 12th Doctor and Billy, who's brilliant, and then Tegan. So yeah, it's all there. Yeah, and then Sarah Jane Smith. Yeah, all nicely done, really well judged, and of course the Paternoster gang as well, who should, deserve their own television series, to be fair. Reminder 2. Yeah, just showing off my, almost showing off my Doctor Who knowledge there. That's, so that's what we've got. So yeah, it's adding things in. Got rules in for gadgets, long-term goals, personal goals, and so on. And then experience and recalling a spent experience. There's always a chance that you'll find yourself in a situation where an experience that you had a long time ago could help you. Continuing that example, if you'd spent the experience of syncing your phone to a Cyberman and the XP awards you increasing the eternity skill, even that experience has effectively gone. What if you found yourself a long time later in a similar situation where the uploading of files onto an alien technology would help? The game master would certainly allow the expenditure of a story point to give you better chance of succeeding, and so on. So yeah, it's a nice story point. We have the most recent, most recent but one iteration of the master, or is that or Missy, whom I liked a lot. Okay, so this is all still all about creating a character. We haven't actually seen what a character looks like. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe, and here, the collection of the basic rules. And if there's anyone who's ever going to enforce the rules for you, anyone ever, it's your Jadoon. I think there's a bit of clever sort of like use of the images and so on here. Quite subtle, quite nicely done. So we've got an explanation of sort of like success levels and how the rules work. And really, you're rolling success dice to pools of dice taken from your attributes and your skills and so on, modified by your abilities. And you've got story points as well. And the interesting thing is that you can lose story points. Killing is wrong. Simple as that. The Doctor will not allow it and knows that killing is almost always the worst possible solution to any problem. Even when you have to kill from mercy or necessity, it leaves things with a bitter aftertaste and people are noticeably changed by the experience. So yeah, this is not a role-playing game where you actually tend this is a role-playing game where conflict resolution through physical means, and certainly violence, comes last. So we've got guidance here: losing conflict and making losing exciting, because the Doctor doesn't always win, and that should be reflected in your experiences role playing this game. And then we've got a nice shot from Terror of the Altons, the mannequins famously stepping out of shop windows and blasting away. So they all come with Barry Norman style haircuts, I like to think. So we've got in here. So flipping through. So that's basically dealing with conflict resolution. An awful lot of running to do. Yes, of course there is, because Doctor Who Adventure is no Doctor Who Adventure without a corridor to run down. So got guide on sample vehicles. So you've got the Who-mobile there from the Third Doctor's age. Just keep going to see what else we've got. And then you've got the guidelines for time travel. Because I promised there's a big ball of timey-wimey stuff. How the TARDIS works. Basically, that's going to be integral to your game, because that's how you're going to get around. That's mostly how you're going to get around. And then we have various different means of time travel. So it's not just in Doctor Who there are other means. You've got time corridors, vortex manipulators, Dalek time travel technology, all mentioned here. Tudor worship. Also, 79B Aikman Road. That's getting very specific, but again, its inclusion is really nice touch. How to create a time machine, and then we have an actual explanation of what the Doctor's the 13th Doctor's time TARDIS is like. Now I have to say that I'm not actually a fan of this look of the TARDIS. I didn't really, but it's again, you know, I prefer, well, previous iterations. That's better, I think. Me personally, you know, don't say that. You know, not everyone is correct. But again, there's the option here. If you have a TARDIS, you know, as a Doctor, you have that. You can make it look however you want. You know, you can have a swimming pool or not. It's up to you. So rules on travelling through time, unprotected time travel manoeuvres, time loops, temporal breaches, so on. All of those these are covered fairly briefly, I would say, because essentially they have the power to really kind of disrupt your game, mix it up, change it, and basically get you caught in, you know, loops you can't get out of, that sort of thing. But you know, you have all those things. You know, they should be seen, you know, as tools to tell the story, as narrative devices more than anything else, rather than sticking to, you know, temporal causality. And then we this is a nice touch. We have hold tight and pretend it's a plan. And this is a section for the game master or the game Missy. That is a nice touch again. So advice on being the game master, how to improvise, be prepared, safety tools, you know, session 0, you know, saying what's going to be a new game, what's not. Dealing with things like culture shock, genre define, creating adventure, so on, and then getting into actual structure of an adventure. So yeah, what to do between adventures. So you've got sections there, because obviously you're not always going to be travelling in time and space. There are going to be downtimes as well, but that can also, you know, you can pursue other things, you can leave the TARDIS, you can come back to it. You know, that's happened plenty of times before. You know, and then you've got events here that fit in with that. So you've got career adventure events, relationship events, family events. Because if somebody goes running off into the TARDIS and it disappears for a while, you know, your family's going to be a bit worried. And then we have an example campaign breakdown. So we're looking at campaign structures now. Big finale, cliffhangers. To Doctor light adventures, it's possible to adventure without the Doctor on hand. You know, you might have problems with, you know, problems that he has to go and fix whilst his companions are stuck there dealing with another issue. I've played in adventures like that. That's been fun, because in some ways the Doctor is really powerful and it has sort of like a power to fix everything, but you know, you wanted to give some agency to the companions. So the brave history of time, space and time. So it's got to be quite brief. And we have from the beginning, and it's accompanied with an adventure hook from the start, and breakdown information, mentoring particular monsters there. So we have the stats there for the Empress of Arachnos, a Wenlymore Silurian and a Welsh Silurian. Interesting way of doing it as by time period rather than by bestiary. We have the Warrior Sea Devil, but we've also got discussion of the Paternoster gang there. There's the stats for the Sea Devil. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the finding of the monsters is going to be easy, because it's done by along a timeline rather necessarily than by alphabetical order. So yeah, and then we get very quickly we get into the unit era. And we've got a classic shot of the second kind of unit team. Sergeant Benson, Captain Yates, Lethbridge Spirit, Sarah Jane Smith on the third Doctor there. Oh, and a lovely shot of the second Doctor and a Yeti. Complete with stats. Axons, Axon, we've got Axons and drones, giant spiders and Zygons, and these are all monsters that can come back. They don't have to be tied in to specific eras. For example, the Zygons have come back under in a more modern story, and so then here we get into the future, the moon being colonised, the wheel in space, the future space station, all the way, the last humans into the 100 trillion, the last few humans have fled the planet, and then we switch to Gallifrey. So we've got Rassilon there, and then various members of the High Council, and the Master himself. Essentially, we've got Roger Delgado there, and then the most recent actor to play him, whose name escapes me, but we've got John Sims there, which is ridiculous because I was literally looking at an article piece with him in it this morning. Sorry about that. Other factions on Gallifrey, so it's just basically the Sisterhood of Khan and the Eternals. And then we have stats for Daleks, and your notes on Davros, and then the Cybermen. So you've got the big villains included as well, because you couldn't have this without them. Ice Warriors, again, they've come back as in more modern stories. Of course, the Jadoon. And then out beyond then, even the Solar Church of Silence. And Sontarans. A bit on the Rotons and the Stanza and others. The Timjar, more as a more modern edition, and then we have notes at the back. Remember all the people who used to be. That's a nice touch, a nice title for the appendix, which is essentially, because this is converting from first edition to second edition. That's a nice title for that. It's a nice touch. There's a lot of thought gone into this, and I appreciate that. So yeah, you've got a complete guide, and then you've got character sheets. So we have Doctor with Graham, Yaz, and then Ryan as the other companions. Blank character sheet, of course, the index. So yeah, that is the Doctor Who role-playing game, Adventures in Time and Space, a second edition. So we'll slip this back in place. So that quite tightly sits in there like that, and then just sits closed like that. That's really nice. Again, I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do with this. I mean, seems a bit but that is the Doctor Who role-playing game second edition, published by Cubicle 7, out ahead of Jodie Whittaker's last story, which is coming out next month as I record this, and we have the appearance of a new Doctor, and hopefully we will have a guide to her stories to go with this volume before we look at the new we look at new content. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxing of the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a box or which contains a book or a game that I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do hit that subscribe button down below. In the meantime, thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.